Hey guys, back again this week for another buttering breakdown video. For anyone who watched my last video, thank you. And for anyone new to this channel or watching for the first time, thank you as well. So first things first, I'm not an instructor, I'm not an expert, and I'm by no means a master. I'm just your average guy with a passion for snowboarding, and I wanted to use this account to help share some of the things I've picked up along the way. Or, wish that I had been told when I was first learning. My goal is to make these things quick and easy to understand, so I'll try to keep them simple without being too technical. With that said, let's get to it. For this week, I'll be going over the nose press. For anyone who's been watching my channel and watched my first video, this is going to look and sound incredibly familiar to the tail press one, with one major difference. Instead of leaning back towards our tail, we're going to be doing this over the nose of our board. Some major points I'll be going over in this video. Point number one, a press is all about your body positioning. We're not trying to force our tail to go up. We're going to be using our board and our body weight to get into the press. Point number two, don't worry about how high or low your press is. A locked-in low press is going to look way better than an unstable high press. Point number three, the goal isn't to touch the nose of our board either. We want to be balanced on the nose, not bending down trying to grab it. Point number four, a nose press in general will not be as high as a tail press. I'll give an example of this later on in the video, but something to keep in mind. And point number five, use your normal stance. For these videos, I'm mostly facing towards the camera, but when you're practicing at home, you really want to be mindful of which way you're facing. I'll go over that in detail a little more later. All right, with that said, let me grab my board, strap in, and we can get started. All right, point number one, body positioning or breaking down a nose press. For many people, when they're first trying a press, their natural instinct might be to just lift their back leg, but that doesn't really work. You can also try bending this leg and lifting up as well, but again, it doesn't really work. It's a lot of work to do this. Like with any press, a nose press is all about our body positioning. When we ride normally, our weight is roughly centered on our board, and for a nose press, we want to just shift all of our weight over the nose of our board, which will then lift our tail with very minimal effort. So again, one more time, centered weight, shift, tail goes up. And again, I'm not doing a lot other than leaning to this side. One more time, centered weight, shift over my nose, tail goes up. Point number two, don't worry about the height of your press. You really want to focus on shifting your weight over your nose instead of worrying about how high you're pressing. Remember, a good-looking press is one that you can hold, not one that you keep falling on. Point number three, don't try to grab the nose of your board. Or rather, the goal isn't to touch your nose. What we're really working on is this body positioning. Center, shift. By trying to grab your nose, you actually throw yourself more off balance. So you really just want to focus on being able to hold that position while riding. Point number four, in general, a nose press will not be as high as a tail press. For this, let me set up an example. Just give me a second. All right, so for this example, I've actually stuck something under my mat to simulate being on a slope. I'm currently on flat ground, and for a tail press or a nose press, the amount of effort I put in to get my nose or tail up is going to be very similar, if not the same. But if I move back to my slope, as you can see, I am now on a slope. I'm going downhill in this direction. If I try to do a tail press here now, my nose is incredibly high up for very minimal effort. If I try to do a nose press, I'm putting in the same amount of effort, but my tail doesn't look that high. This is simply due to just the mechanics of being on a slope. My tail is a lot closer to the mountain than my nose is, so even though that is technically the same amount of height if I was on flat ground, it just doesn't look that high. Again, it's just the mechanics of doing a press on a slope, not something you need to worry about, just something to kind of keep in mind. And point number five, use your normal stance. As I've already mentioned in the beginning of this video, when I'm on camera, I'm usually facing towards the camera while speaking to you guys. But when I'm practicing, I do tend to try to be in my regular stance, normal stance. What I mean by normal stance is I am a regular rider, which means my left foot is forward, and I face downhill to my left. So again, when I am practicing, I try to keep this in mind and stay facing left for most of my practice session. While fundamentally tail presses and nose presses seem very similar, they're going to feel a lot different on the mountain, and by making sure we're using our normal stance, this will help get us a better feel for what any particular trick might feel like. So again, as a regular stance rider, my nose is this way, versus my tail being this way. But I'm always facing down mountain. Thank you for watching. Again, just remember to practice, whether it's in your living room or on the mountain, just working on these basic fundamentals will do a lot in terms of your progress. And while practicing indoors will feel very different than actually practicing on the mountain, it will still let you train your body to become familiar with these movements, which will make the transition a lot easier. Plus, you can do this today before you head back to the slopes. Hopefully this was helpful. If you have any questions, please let me know down below. I'll try to answer it as soon as I can. Have fun out there and stay safe.